I've been involved with the Devil's Lake Basin since 1993, when we had our first large meeting in Devil's Lake to address the rising lake. That at that time, Devil's Lake was 44,000 acres, or just a little over 44,000 acres. That was in 93. Now it's a little over 177,000 acres. That means that it has covered an additional 132,000 acres since 1993. That's impressive, but what you really need to know is that every one of those acres involves somebody's life, somebody's property, homes, farms, farmland. The loss in farm income in that area has been in the millions of dollars every year. So we need not to think of this as just water coming up. We need to think about what that water is doing as it comes up. If and when it gets to the point that it actually breaks out and runs back into the Cheyenne River, it doesn't mean the problems have gone away. It means problems have moved downstream. Valley City, many of the towns downstream will not be able to handle the kind of water that a free flow out of Devil's Lake will cause. So the issues at Devil's Lake are very broad.
In a normal disaster, what we find is that we know the effects on a community because the hurricane or the fire has dissipated, and we know the exact impacts on the community. And this disaster is unique because what we find is that due to the continuing rise of the lake level, that the disaster impacts continue to happen. So what we have to do is project what those impacts are going to be and help mitigate those impacts on the community. ESF 14, Long-Term Community Recovery, is a fairly new division to FEMA. We are a division that looks at the holistic recovery of a community once a disaster, a presidentially declared disaster, happens. Part of what ESF 14 does, and a major part, is coordination of resources. And with our federal partners, we bring them in to help us not only assess the impacts of the disaster, but bring existing programs that they may have to help address the needs of the community.
The idea of having this federal family meeting, coordination meeting, is to apprise everyone of the situation, look at some of the possible ways that they can get engaged, and hopefully that we'll get the support we need to move forward and make a change in that community. I saw firsthand just what the impact is, and I realized how horrible that must feel to be part of that, to be trapped in a situation like that. For any human being that lives there and watches this lake just continue to come up. I hope we leave it better than when we got here, because it's time. Something has to be done.
We are currently engaged with the Spirit Lake Nation in a modified full plan. We're providing technical assistance as part of that. The coordination effort is always there, but we're looking at and building on what they've already done to assist their own recovery and showing them a direction which they can go, which will optimize those resources and make sure that there's a full recovery of the community.
When you flood 1 or 2, maybe 3 years, you can bounce back. Whether you're an individual, a family, a community, you can come back and recover. But when it's continual, like it has been for 17 years and will be counting for many more years, flooding, 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 it's hard to bounce back. It's hard to know what to do. It's tough to keep fighting the same old fight. Long-term community recovery is going to help individuals, families, the communities in Spirit Lake, and also the tribe as a whole recover from what's been happening to them for 17 years and what's going to continue happening. It's going to be so helpful in keeping the communities alive and viable.